and welcome to the final edition of the Infinite Crisis crossover event. This is Thompson's Comic Corner. I'm the host, Zach, and with me is the great co host, George from Shortbox Summary.
Hey Zach, how's it going, man? We're at the end. We finally did it. We made it.
We have made it to the end. This has been, 6 episodes in the making now.
Hmm.
And we read Infinite Crisis. We did Countdown to Infinite Crisis, and then we did the four miniseries that was the build up to everything going on. And then, finally the 7 issue miniseries, Infinite Crisis, or, you could read it in the 7 individuals. I read it in the trade paperback, which we were talking about before we came on here. For a 200, almost a 300 page trade paperback in 2006, this was 14.99. So sign me up. No
What a
wonder
time.
people,
Yeah, what a time to be alive, Zach. 12 issue trade paperbacks were 29.99, sometimes like 24.99. It's just deals. It was like they wanted you to buy the books.
yeah, take me back, please. Like, I regret not. So, like, all right, I'll let it be known I was not reading comic books in this era of time. So I was probably still in my, how do I put this? My snotty, that's not real comic books. I want the smell of the comic book. I want the inks look like shit, like the colors. That's what I want. I want the little dots. Those
Hmm.
that was my thinking back then because Marvel Tales were only $1 and Spidey Super Stories were only $1, so it was real easy to get a hold of those. So going back and reading Infinite Crisis for me, like I said, there's a lot of characters that I don't really have like a familiarity with. Like Power Girl, I know who Power Girl is. She's in this. She plays a main role, but I don't really know much about her. Superboy, uh, with the black shirt and the logo, that was all new to me the first time I read this.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so like I didn't know who they were. Like obviously I know who they are, but like I don't know much about like their backstory or what they were doing at this time.
Gotcha. And yeah, I put you on like a crash course for Infinite Crisis. There was a ton of stuff that I cut out. Um, Tried my best to trim the fat and give what I thought was a complete, mostly complete story. Obviously, not a totally complete story because that's insane. To ask like, oh hey, we're doing Infinite Crisis, yeah, let's read all 78 tie-ins. I was like, no, we're not doing that, man. So there was the return of Donna Troy was a big story that came out. I remember JSA Classified did like a 2 or 3 issue arc about the history of Power Girl. There was a Teen Titans arc that was dealing with Connor, who's Superboy in this timeline on this Earth, finding out that he's a clone of half Superman, half Lex Luthor. Like there was like all this stuff going on in the background. There was Breach was like a character that was like in a beloved mini ongoing that didn't last as long as it should have. That ended up being an important character. Like there was so much going on. I think San Diego was underwater in the Aquaman book. There is a JLA tie-in called Crisis of Conscience. Green Lantern had just come back. Like really, like Green Lantern Rebirth is an important part of the story. Identity Crisis is a super important part of the story. Wonder Woman dealing with the fallout of the Maxwell Lord killing and failing her mission and Themyscira being invaded. They touched on that in this story, but like we didn't get like the full breadth of everything that was going on. There was some Robin stuff. Batman Annual 26, I think, was where the return of Jason Todd was explained. Like this was a massive, massive event that touched every possible corner of the DC universe. And I like you too much to ask you to read all of it, so I kept it as short and concise as I could.
Well, I appreciate that, but now, okay, so all right, we're gonna dive into this story just a little bit because I don't want to forget this question. So we get to the end, okay?
Mm, yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm gloves off. We ain't even going. right down the line. I need to know. So when we get to the end of it, everything's all quote unquote hunky dory, right? Everything's
Sure.
okay. You, Wonder Woman literally snaps the neck of a man. Okay, nobody knows what he said except her. Correct. At any point in this story, does she tell Bruce or Clark what actually happened? Because at the end, like I said, everything's all fine. We're just gonna forget that. Like we're gonna swipe it under the rug. Like that never happened.
I don't think she told anyone. Yeah. And so
I
like
have a
what you're alluding to is like Maxwell Lord saying that like I'll do this again. I can if I can take over Superman, I can take over anyone. Like no one's safe. Like I can I'm holding a gun to the world, basically, is like what he's saying.
yeah, and let that sink in. Maxwell Lord is a pissant compared to some of
Not a
these.
great dude. Yeah.
Yeah, like he is not like, and he's not even like an A tier villain, and he was able to break Superman.
Hmm.
Let that sink in. And he's saying, if I can do it, think of what somebody else could do. Or if I did it once, I can do it again. So she snaps his neck. But again, we get to the end of this book and everything's like quote unquote fine. I mean, there's a lot of shit that leads up to this. But I mean, I'm still like, I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, nothing happened. Like, we just dealt with this. Everybody saw this and we're just going to forgive you because the world got saved. Technically, you weren't even the one that saved our world.
Feel
She's
like
saying.
what the I think rereading it this time, I think like one of the more interesting things is like this is a universe ending event, but it felt really small the entire time because everything was pretty well pocketed, right? And so like
Yeah.
because we read Villains United, um is it Day of Vengeance? Was that the magic one?
Yeah, that was the one with Spectre.
Yeah. Because we read Ran Thanagar War and because we read OMAC Project, like everything was siloed pretty neatly. So like as far as big universe threatening spectacle goes, I thought this was like really easy to wrap your head around. And it got to the point where
Yeah.
like everyone was pretty okay. Like like it didn't feel like the entire universe was crumbling, even though it was. Like the way Crisis on Infinite Earths, which honestly is like another book we should have read in prep for this, I guess. And then Zero Hour, Crisis in Time. God, there's so many DC books. Because of that, like I don't know, some actions, like when Black Adam just nukes Psycho Pirate, right?
Oh yeah, that was actually pretty badass
That
though.
was incredible. He just like pokes his fingers through the mask of Psycho Pirate, and like you see an eyeball, like you see like his entire cranium explode. It's awesome.
And he
And
says no more silly faces.
yeah, and I think it was either Nightshade or Power Girl was like, was that really necessary? He's like, no, but it felt good. Like everyone seems to be just be like, yeah, like we're playing for keeps this time, man. Like we don't have time to really worry about boundaries and limitations. And so like that's part of the reason I think everyone just kind of like moves on from it. But also
I
like
mean, it
with
makes
Diana,
sense.
with Diana, I think it's also like, well, we know what you did, but we know your heart. So we're gonna trust your heart that you did the right thing. Like it really did feel like an all is forgiven because of the person who did it.
Yeah, I mean, for real though. I mean, did she make the world a worse place by killing Maxwell Lord? No. I mean, the
She
guy had
didn't.
it coming, to be honest.
She didn't. And then a few years later is Blackest Night, the Green Lantern story that takes over the DC universe. And
Great
Maxwell,
story.
yeah, and Maxwell Lord comes back at the end of that, I think, because like a lot of
Yes.
stuff was reversed or whatever. So really, at that point, it's like, oh, what you're gonna be mad at me for killing a guy who's not dead? Like I'm like, okay, like Diana's forgiven. Diana's absolutely forgiven.
Yeah, and again, I'm team Diana, dude. I would have snapped his neck too. He was an asshole.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. If I was a superhero, I'd be like the boys esque.
Oh no.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I kind of like that show from what I've seen. I've never read the book, but it's an alright show.
I'm a weird dude who like I like the comic, I dislike the book, and everyone's like, "Oh, the book is so like depraved and gross." I'm like, "Yes, that is the point of the book. You got it."
Yeah, that's something. That's something we might have to read.
I'm down, man. I got every trade. I got the first like
Yeah,
30 issues, I think, downstairs. So I had that
yeah,
back when I was a Wildstorm book. That was the print on the first issue.
yeah. That's something a lot of people. I know we're getting away from. We'll get back to. If you ever listen to the show, you understand. Um, I got a comment saying that maybe we should bring in some more independent books. That's fine and dandy, but y'all got to remember independent books are a little harder to find digitally.
Yeah, but
So
not on Libby or Hoopla, then that becomes an investment we have to make. And we're happy to do that, but also it's like we can really only do that so many times, especially
yeah,
like in a month, like buying
like
my
we
own
got day
books.
jobs. Yeah, we got day jobs. You know what I mean? We got dogs and we got kids.
Well, like I got money set aside for comics, and like I got a pretty specific budget in mind for comics, so I'm like, all right, man, like
Yeah.
can't go buying so much more than that.
Yeah, I'm like your stereotypical like dad. I got a kid, I got a wife. Wife kill dad if dad spends too much money on comic books. If you're married,
Yeah, also
promise.
gas is super expensive, so
Yeah.
I
At the
got other
time of this
got other stuff
episode,
to
it's,
buy.
it's too damn much.
Yeah.
So, but Infinite Crisis, back to our regularly scheduled program, is written by Jeff Johns. And I told you earlier, this is like number two Jeff Johns story to me. I love his Green Lantern Rebirth, but this story, he writes every character so well. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody's out of place to me. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy Earth 2 Superman. And I enjoy the fact that he is looking at the world because he's angry because Lois is sick, and he thinks that it's this Earth's fault because his Earth got destroyed in Crisis of Infinite Earth. And you see like him, changing his ways throughout the story, and I absolutely love that.
Hmm.
Like that is one of my favorite parts. And Superboy Prime's character, the way he evolves, that he thinks that he is the end all be all superhero, that everybody else is bad. In reality, he can't he's just a bad dude, and he can't see that. He thinks that it's everybody else's fault, that it's no fault of his own. And it's like the main, like he's literally a child, and he can't take action for his, like he can't take the consequences because of his actions. He can't see that. And that's most kids, they think that, oh man, I break that vase, I say I'm sorry, nothing's going to change. And that's pretty much how he is. He's like, you're making me do this.
Hmm.
And it's like those two characters were written just so well and so beautiful to me. Like I really enjoyed those, like that part of the story. Now I didn't really care for Luther's character, Alexander Luther. I didn't really care. All Luthers are bad dudes. You don't trust them. I'm just saying, you
Uh,
never trust.
I loved him as a villain because of like that one line at the end where he's just like, where he's talking to, I think, Earth 2 Superman. And he's just like, I am my father's son, the only hero on a broken world.
I
Or
mean, that is a pretty cold
something like
line.
that. Well, just the fact that
Yeah.
like even after all the horrible shit he did, he still like never saw himself as a villain. And like that's frankly a big crock of BS. Obviously he's a villain. My favorite part about this story in rereading it this time, was like all the vitriol and judgment these characters had for these characters. Like sorry, these characters being uh Alexander Luthor, Superboy Prime, and to a smaller extent, uh Earth 2 Superman. Like they were just like judging these people so much. But it's like, you guys did this. Like you're the reason this stuff was happening, like, oh, look at this war that's happening in outer space. It's like, yeah, man, because like you moved these planets, like you shuffled everything around. Look at these heroes are so distracted with themselves they don't even notice like all these supervillains like gathering power and organizing. It's like, yeah, man, you're doing that. Like you did that. You were pretending to be Lex Luthor doing it. So it's like the hypocrisy, I guess, of all their complaints being like these heroes aren't real heroes, like we messed up, like we sacrificed everything for nothing because of these people. And it's like, no, man, like you had your fingerprints on this from the beginning. Like it is that was like such a fun just thing to realize. Is that like I'm sure I've realized it other times I've read it, but like that really stood out to me this time rereading it. It was just like, oh man, like you talk such game, but like you are the actual problem the entire time.
Yeah, he's the same as like again, like his character is pretty much the same as Superboy Prime. They can't see the wrong in their actions. And it's like,
Hmm.
nah, like you guys are the villains.
Yeah.
Like it's clear as day to me as the reader, which I mean, again, that's the way it's supposed to be. So that's the way they make these awesome DC comic books.
Um,
And on top of that, like the Superboy Prime, this is where they kind of like redefined his character, right? Like Superboy Prime existed in the Crisis on Infinite Earth story because I'm pretty sure by then, continuity wise, they had changed it. So like I think Superboy didn't exist anymore, like wasn't a character. Like I think Superman appeared as an adult. So Superboy from Superboy Prime was a way to get like a teenage version of Superman. And so he was like the stand-in. And like it kind of became like Father, Son, Holy Ghost type stuff for Crisis on Infinite Earths. And they do that here, but man, they switched him around so much here where like he kind of became a stand-in for comic fans, right? Because like he's from a world where there are no heroes except for him. He's familiar with everyone in the DC universe because they all exist as comic book characters in comic books that he is reading. And so just like him running around being like, no, you're doing it wrong. This isn't how you're supposed to act. It was like such a, I thought, smart commentary at the time. A little heavy-handed to me now. But like just having him be the voice of comic fans complaining like, no, everything's too dark. Like you did it, you're doing it wrong. You need to be better. I can be better. And so like having Superboy think he's better than everyone, having Alexander Luthor think he's smarter than everyone, and having Earth 2 Superman think he's more right than everyone. Like that was one scene I actually did get kind of emotional at was when it was like Earth 2 Superman was right after Lois dies, and then he screams, holding her the way Superman was holding Supergirl in Crisis on Infinite Earth, screams, and then Superman, our Superman from Earth One or whatever, hears it and goes and is just like, "Oh my God, is everything okay?" Like, and then Superman just lashes out at him, and then talking about like how like his Earth was perfect, his Earth was great, and he's just like, "You couldn't have come from a perfect Earth because a perfect Earth doesn't need a Superman," and like that's the thing that breaks him, and like that part cut me up, man. Like I was just a waterfall at that point. I was just like. Like Superman has a better understanding of Superman than Superman does, like
yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, think about that. Like the fact that like Superman knows that, you know what I mean? Like in order of a perfect world, he's no longer needed.
mm,
And it's like, damn, like you hit that realization, like, you know what I mean? Like that is pretty deep.
yeah.
It don't sound deep like when we say it, but like
Well,
I mean
no,
from the
like
character itself.
no, because like that Superman is from the 30s. Like that is like from an art aesthetic point, that is like the modern art movement. And then this Superman is postmodern, where like it is like more self-aware and self-referential. And so to have that argument about postmodernism, it's like just destroying like the old argument for it. I'm just like, oh, that's really friggin' good writing, man. Like that is good stuff.
I believe, like I said, I believe this whole story was it's handled really well. It it has a beginning, a middle, and it essentially has an end or like a new beginning, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it definitely ends. And now again, I didn't read the books when all this came out. You did.
Mm.
So did they like stop printing Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman after this for a time being, or no?
They didn't. None of the books were canceled or anything like that or put on hiatus. Everything got a stamp on it that said 1 year later.
Oh,
And so a year had passed since the end of Infinite Crisis, and like there was just like new status quos. Like Robin had a different costume. Robin was like dating Cass at that point.
Interesting.
and
And that would
Cass's
have
like
and
Superboy's ex girlfriend at the time.
yeah, so wait a minute. Now who Tim Drake would have been Robin,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yep. So they were dating. Superman was without powers for basically a year, and then I think Jeff Johns was actually on Superman Action. It was like Superman Action Comics crossover to tell a story way faster, like a big important story way faster. And that was like the beginning of the Jeff Johns era on Action Comics. There was a thing that was called like Up in the Sky was the name of that story. And then Batman had a story called Face the Face or Face to Face. And it was a Two-Face story. I think that was James Robinson was writing it. I can't remember the artist on it. Um, but that was like
Yeah,
over in Batman and Detective. And then that was like after that was like the beginning of the Grant Morrison run on Batman with Tony Daniel
has really cool looking covers, and the interior art is nowhere near the same.
for those Batman issues.
Yep.
Yeah, man, they really hoodwinked me. I did not think that was a very good story, and I ultimately
No.
thought it was kind of unnecessary. But the missing year took place in this book called 52, and that was a weekly book that DC was putting out at the time, where it didn't really focus on those main characters, but it was a really cool book idea. I think Keith Giffen did like the breakdowns for all the art to ship out a weekly book, but it
Hmm.
was like written by Mark Waid, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, and I want to say Jeff Johns, but I don't know if it was Jeff Johns. It might have been a fourth writer whose name is escaping me. And basically, like it focused on this new character, Supernova. It focused on Ralph Dibny, like the elongated man. And every once in a while, you get like one issue that just talked about like Bruce's year. Like it was stuff like that. But like he basically traveled for a year. I think you see him get on a boat at the end of Infinite Crisis.
Yeah,
Um,
with Dick and Tim.
yeah, God, the Robin book was really good after this because I think Adam Beechin took over with Freddie Williams on art. I think it was 20 years ago. Please don't hold it against me for not remembering. But it was a crazy time to be reading comics because this was coming out at the same time as Civil War, and like Civil War was just eating DC's lunch. Like in hindsight, I think Infinite Crisis is clearly the better story. But at the time, man, Civil War was inescapable. And also, like, Civil War, I think Mark Miller was having health issues, or Steve McNiven was like, someone on the main book was having problems. And it's like that book got delayed a bunch. And it's like, it just kind of like made it bigger, longer. And at the time, it felt more epic. And DC didn't do that. Like, God, who did the art for this? This was
George Perez.
Phil Jimenez was like the main artist to start, and then George Perez and Jerry Ordway stepped
Yep.
in, and they did that just with multiple artists to help make sure the book shipped on time. I think it actually works really well. Like I think despite having such different styles, I don't think there's like a clash, especially because I don't know, like I'm never gonna be mad at seeing George Perez's name on a book, you know?
Yeah, same. Oh
and
man.
and Jerry Ordway, unsung hero of DC. Like I think that dude is immensely talented, and yeah, I think he's up there with George Perez. Like I think I love seeing his name on books.
Yeah, I enjoy he's on so many DC, like what I call like the DC of the 90s, like the look of DC.
Oh, a thousand
So
percent. Yeah, it's like him and like Dan Jurgens. I'm just like, yes,
yeah,
this is what comics look like to me.
yeah, like they literally were the epitome of DC books in the 90s, like the standard. And it's I'm not saying that it's bad, I'm not saying that it's great. It's just like when I think of those characters, it's usually same with like the Avengers. When I think of the Avengers, I think of George Perez's run.
Yeah,
Or like the Fantastic Four, I think of John Byrne. So you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
those characters, it's just,
Defining,
and
like literally defining work where you can't
yeah.
can't think of the book without thinking of a very specific name. Yeah.
We would go X-Men, but there's too many of them, so we'll just leave that like
Nah,
there's a lot
Jim
of.
Lee, Jim Lee, man, come on.
Yeah, see, but I like Mark Silvestri.
That's okay. You can be wrong. That's fine.
Oh, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a different episode where we're just yelling at each other. I tricked you into reading an entire event.
I'm not mad about it.
Not mad about it. Okay. Blackest Night, I assume you like more than this.
Uh, yes and no.
Okay.
So, how do I put this? I like Blackest Night, yes, but I feel like I like the impact of this story better.
Gotcha.
I like something that actually has stakes in it, and it felt like the ending of um like the way that they ended like towards the end of Blackest Night, and like Kyle Rayner becomes the White Light, which is really cool, and I love that concept. But there's too many. See, I did try to read the tie-ins for that book,
Hmm.
and it was just too much for me. So like I missed out on a lot, and I feel like the core story is not the definitive story. Like that one, I do need to read the tie-ins. So
That was what really started my rule of like, okay, Jeff Johns is writing this book. What other books is Jeff Johns writing? Those are the necessary books. Like that's all
yeah,
I'm reading. Like I thought that one got too unwieldy, and like some of them are fun. Like I think there was a JSA book that was like 3 issues or something. Like there was fun stuff, especially like when you're dealing with death and in comics and whatnot, and like all these dead people coming back and just people haunted by their mistakes. Like that's just a really fertile ground, right, to tell stories. But like I agree that it was too much. And I'm not saying this book isn't too much, but at the same time, like it's not like every issue of Batman was dealing with this because it was still like under the Red Hood era of Batman. So like you were getting a complete story that was a bit of a break from the main event in a lot of these books. And like Jeff Johns was writing Teen Titans at the time, so like those books, I don't think you need to read them. I think the Teen Titans Annual, which for some reason is not on DC Infinite, which is extremely frustrating because it was Cass and Connor spending one last night together, going on like a date, and I think they bang out in a barn. Um, like it's frustrating that that book's not on DC Infinite. 'Cause I'm like, dude, this character dies. Like this is like his last moment to be like a normal person, like should have included that. But also like sorry, that stuff is why Connor was like so morose and down and depressed and didn't want to contribute to anything because like he found out he was a clone of Superman and Lex Luthor, and then like he had like a little evil heel turn for a bit in the story, and then like became scared of his own power, and that's why Superboy was like really judging him.
yeah. See, I didn't know that, but I could like kind of. I figured that's why he didn't want to. Like he had found out that he was a clone, and
Mhm.
that he had some part of Lex Luthor in him. I figured that was why he was acting the way he was. I didn't know the
Yeah.
rest of it, but
Yeah.
it was. They did a really good job explaining that, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like a guy like me who's not reading all these books, I could pick that part up. Like that was easy.
Mhm.
And I feel again, like I feel like for somebody that came into this not knowing everything that's going on, you get a good sense.
Yeah.
And Jeff Johns does a really good job of like, a brand new reader could come in, read this, and then you could start with 52.
1,000%. I love 52. Like I'm probably going to start that. Not saying we'd cover that on the show, but just out of my curiosity, I'm like, oh yeah, what did happen next? Like where should we jump into? As for tie-ins, like I read four. I read the companion pieces. I read Ranthanagar War, I read OMAC, I read Day of Vengeance, I read uh Villains United. I read all those, and Ranthanagar War was like proof that someone interfered with the planet, that like Rand wasn't to blame for Thanagar flying too close to the sun and like having the whole planet destroyed. Like they found proof of Superboy Prime moving the planet. But like all things told, like I don't think it was like a very important tie-in. The Day of Vengeance one though, I thought was great because it was like the Shadow Pact and a bunch of other magical heroes trying to put back together the Rock of Eternity, and they had to hunt down the seven deadly sins that were imprisoned there. And it's like that actually like pushed the story forward and explained like what was going on with the Spectre, why the Spectre was doing this, and like we learned that like the magic was the fuel for for Alex Luthor's project. So like I thought that tied in really well. That was also where Nightshade was taken and like added to the tower because she was from a different Earth, so she could help it attune or whatever. The OMAC project companion I thought was like a good action story, but like that was really like it sets up stuff after because after Infinite Crisis, there's like a new Checkmate book that lasted, I'll say like 25 or 30 issues or something. So like that was kind of the start of it there when Amanda Waller becomes like the new head of Checkmate. The Villains United one though really sets up issue 7 of Infinite Crisis, and like that was the one that also made me emotional. Just like seeing these characters that like I thought were just random bullshit characters the first time I was reading it. I was just like, oh man, no one cares about this. But like as a 35-year-old now, not as a 15, 16-year-old who was reading the book when it was coming out, I'm just like, they didn't have to be there, but they stood up, like they answered the call when no one else did. And like I just found something like really beautiful about that. So if you're interested in reading Infinite Crisis tie-ins, I'd say stick to Superman book and Action Comics. There's some like good kind of like a coda to Earth 2 Superman happening in that book. I'd say read 2 of those companion pieces, like read the Villains United one, read the Day of Vengeance one. I think you can probably skip the other 2, to be honest. Although that one does set up the Rand Thanagar one does set up like a 12 issue Ion series that comes out after starring Kyle Rayner, and they explain how that happens in that book. Yeah, I love the organization of this series. I love how like tight and concise and compact it is. I think it is the standard bearer for uh, event comics for me. Like I just think it did such a good job of demonstrating why certain pockets of it matter.
Yeah, this was so like my only prior event, which I didn't read all the tie-ins, was DC's Night Terror series.
Mhm.
And this blows it completely out the water. That book, the main story, and we talked about this before we got on. I want you to read Night Terror and read how good of a story it is, how good they use Dead Man, how some of the tie-ins are just they're so much fun. And not in the fact of like ha 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 fun. Like they take the character and it's mainly their most like biggest fear. And you see like what it is. And you like Batman's is really good. The Joker's is top notch. Green Lantern's is sick, and the covers for that is sick. The I think it's Nightwing has one too. His is really good. I believe it's his own standalone, but don't quote me on that. Poison Ivy's is really good. Like the whole damn thing's really good. But
Mhm.
the ending kills it. This book, Infinite Crisis, has a great beginning, a great middle, and a great end that leads into 52, which at this point, we might as well just read it. Like, we might as well just do it. We're invested.
It is 56 issues long.
Well, we're only like 30 episodes in, somewhere in that ballpark of of the podcast. So I mean, and we
Hey man,
release
you
weekly.
want to do it 13 issues at a time? Like they do read pretty fast. I'm game. I will say week 50 there is this event called World War III that happens. And so it's like week 50 is one of the books and then there's 4 other books that come out that day to tie into World War III. So it's 52 plus 4.
I've been thinking about doing some like crazy themed month things. So I mean, it's on the table.
All right. Dude, say the word. I'm there.
Yeah.
Before we put the bow on it for Infinite Crisis, could you tell in the end, like Superboy dies, right? Connor Kent dies.
Yes.
Did that feel natural to you?
I mean, I liked it, but he was like the sacrificial lamb, and did I? I mean, yeah, I guess.
Okay, I'm asking because originally Dan DiDio, the president or whatever of DC at the time, wanted to kill someone else. Do you know who he wanted to kill instead?
Well, I know for a fact, please, for the love of God, don't say it was Superman.
No.
I don't know. You already killed Blue Beetle at the beginning of the story.
Right.
You killed Maxwell Lord at the beginning of the story.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Jesus, you killed like
He wanted to
20.
he
How
wanted to
many?
kill 34 Green Lanterns, I
Yeah, I was
think
just
was
about to say they
the
killed a bunch of them. And then what else did they kill before that? Um, Superboy literally just tore through
oh,
even more.
so many Teen Titans that like I don't even know who that character is.
Yeah, so
No,
lay it on me.
he wanted to kill Nightwing.
I could see that, and I know why, because Nightwing is literally Dick Grayson is literally the brightest spot in DC. And that's
Yeah.
no exaggeration.
It like honestly like rereading it this time, like I think it makes more sense for Nightwing to die because like Nightwing was like the impetus of Batman wanting to fight back. You know, like everyone like it really actually feels like it predates like the whole "Make America Great Again" movement, where it's just like, no, bring back Earth 2. You know, like we got to go back. Things were better back then. We have to bring the back to now. Like it really feels like that's the argument they're making. And then, like Batman's talking to Earth 2 Superman. He's like, "What about Dick Grayson? Is Dick Grayson better on your world?" He's just like, "No, he's not. Like your Dick Grayson's amazing." And like that was like the punch that like Batman needed to like wake up from apathy or whatever and like start doing something, right? And so like it makes sense that like the reason people were called into action would die. But man, I'm so glad he didn't. And like Connor Kent, he comes back, man. Like it's fine. It's whatever.
I would have much rather Nightwing die for this noble cause than what's the book? It's not Injustice or is it Deceased where he just takes a thing to the temple?
I don't know. I didn't read it. I mean, didn't he also like get shot and then became like Rick Grayson? Wasn't that
Hey,
him?
hey, you know what? Don't ju if you ain't never read that, don't judge that. That's actually pretty good.
Okay.
It's Grayson is the series. It's written by Tom King. It's pretty good.
Okay. If you say so, man.
Yeah.
I know Dan Jurgens wrote a bunch of that too before it went back to Tom Taylor.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that. But yeah, I could actually see that. I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have. It did seem forced that Superboy was the one to die. It did. It seemed forced.
I think it still makes sense. That's like I think they both were like it feels like a telltale game, you know, where it's like you have one decision to make at the end and like the story is radically different. It's sorry, 90% the same, but like the final coloring book page is just colored radically different depending on whichever choice you make. Like it does feel like that. I think they both make sense. I'm kind of glad it was Connor Kent just because, man, that Teen Titans drama that happens when he comes back and Robin's dating Cass is so juicy, so good.
If you can't tell, George loves Batgirl, right? Yeah, Batgirl. That's Cass.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no,
Cassandra Cain.
no, different Cass.
Oh,
Um, no, Wonder Girl Cass.
oh, see, I didn't know that.
I do love Cassandra Cain though, big fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the first 35 issues of her run.
So good.
So good, peak. All right, George. I want to thank you for, as always, joining me on the show.
Yeah, of course, boss.
Yeah, the co-host seat, it's literally it's got George's name on it. We just put tape over it when somebody else joins. It's embroidered into the chair.
Yeah, thank everyone else for keeping my seat warm for me before I return. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's never cold. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's not heated. It's just, somebody sitting there. We
yeah,
got you.
break in the leather, please. Yeah.
All right, George. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah.
And like as I always say, thank you guys for joining. And I hope you guys have a great day. And peace out, Cub Scouts.